Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Murphy's Law. I'm Eric Murphy, and we're going to be going over an old episode today. It is a classic. It is one of the most watched calls on Talk Heathen. And with me to talk about it today is V La Bianca. Hey V, how's it going?
Hey Eric, I'm good. I'm going good.
You're going
How
good.
Are you going?
Oof. I like the hat. Where did you get that?
Thank you. It was an ad for Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this is a dad hat.
Okay.
And I was like, I think this is my gender now. So,
Nindo,
it's
take
fun.
notes. Okay, let's dive into a classic Talk Heathen clip. I'd love to see if you ever saw this one.
Ruth Ann in Virginia, you're live with Eric and Jamie. How's it going?
Ruth Ann. Okay.
Did you ever see Ruth Ann?
Ruth Ann is worried about the children's.
Yes. So
see, I know my ACA shit.
You do. Well, then that said, I have a few longer clips, but I do want to go over them. So let me actually go over the first clip here.
It really actually really bothers me that your show and shows like your show and other atheists, like I have some atheist relatives, and other atheists try to kind of convince people not to follow God, not to be Christians, and convert them to the atheist faith instead of respecting what people believe.
So setting the atheist faith aside for a second,
Mm-hmm.
the reason I wanted to talk about this call is because sometimes it seems like we're going over some really deep philosophical stuff where we hit a lot of really important things. In fact, last week we went over the coronavirus and talks about pandemic and plague. And at that core, though, we're dealing with people. We're dealing with people that Ruth Ann could be a family member of mine.
Oh, same. Yeah.
And how come you are talking about your atheism? How come you don't just respect my beliefs?
Mm-hmm.
What have you kind of come across with that? Because that strikes a heavy chord for me.
Oh yeah. No, there's it's this weird kind of mindset where I guess it's not so weird. I guess it makes sense. If you've grown up in a worldview, then anyone who deviates from that and is vocal about it is going to stand out very much. And all of the things in your world that are familiar to you, that back up your belief system, that create. I'm hearing a lot of buzzing.
Oh.
Hopefully that doesn't come across anywhere.
We will test it. I will check it.
Okay. Anything that comes across as different or new is not only kind of terrifying, it's also it stands out more. It's louder, right? Because you have evolved to notice when something is off, when something is different, because then you spring into action, right? Yeah. So I've experienced this with my atheism. I've experienced this with my gender identity, with my sexuality, with a whole bunch of things. Why do you talk about pronouns? Everybody has pronouns. Everyone uses pronouns. It's just that mine are different, and so they seem louder. And I think it has to do with that, with my family as well, right? With atheism. Why are you talking about it? Well, you just don't hear how you talk about your worldview all the time because it's familiar to you.
Exactly.
I'm only talking as much as you are, if that, probably not even as much, but it feels grating and scary because it's different.
Absolutely. And there's also this assumption that we're going to so there I think there's a very clear line that we need to draw that just definitely was not drawn in until much later for me. And that is that you can respect a person, but a person is not their ideas. And she's saying, how come you don't just respect my views? And implicit in that is, how come you don't just listen and shut up and don't ask questions? Because when you do that, you're disrespecting me and my worldview. And it's so one-sided, isn't it? How many atheists jump out and say, how come you don't just respect my worldview? You know, sit down, shut up, don't ask questions. It's like, that's not how we get anywhere.
Right.
You know, this idea of respect when it comes to, I mean, that's how we make a better society, is we question those basic things around us to see if it's still worth holding on to. And yet, how come you just keep doing that? And then we get,
what you guys are doing is you all are actually turning people against Jesus, well, God, and by having shows like this.
So we went from being people with our own views to now we're the enemy.
Right. Exactly.
It's turning people away from God. Do we do that anywhere else in the rest of our lives?
Turn people away from God? I hope so.
Well, no. I mean, but like you're turning people away from evolution. You're turning people away from science. You're turning people away from their relationship with so-and-so. It's like, if you don't have good reasons, then you probably shouldn't be there in the first place. But if you do have good reasons, you're not going to get turned away.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It takes the onus away from everybody in the situation. No one has autonomy. We don't have autonomy as agents of, evil. The people we are, influencing don't have autonomy as people who can make up their own minds about things. Nobody in this scenario has any kind of responsibility.
Yeah.
We're all pawns in some bigger game, which is a very problematic worldview.
It really is. It really is, because people can fall into that and go and feel blameless for terrible actions.
Exactly.
It's rough. And so when she went on here,
I don't come to your house and try to convince you to be a Christian. And okay, so this is what I would do. I don't believe in.
Okay, hold on, Ruth Ann. Hold on. So you found our YouTube channel where people call in to us to talk to us, and you're comparing that to us going into your home and forcing a conversation on you. Is that right?
Well,
because that really doesn't add up, does it?
And yet, it's being forced on us. I mean,
well, that's the narrative, right?
Well,
that's the narrative that they're told.
Yes, and we try to exemplify patience, and we try to have empathy here. But this idea that we're these chaotic monsters, or that we, are breaking down people's doors to damage them.
Yep.
It's horrible. And it pisses me off. It makes me want to keep doing this, is what it does. It makes me go, you know what? If I'm doing something that I genuinely feel is good for community building, it's good for the world that I'm in, and yet I'm being made to be the monster. You know what? I'll take that on. I will absolutely take that on. It's why when we get hate mail, most of the time we sit and we just laugh at it. I mean, behind the camera, V and I send each other hilarious hate messages because it's good. We get them from Jenna as well. They're just good. If we're going to be put in this situation where we are the monsters, then we're going to show just how monstrous we can be by being kind to each other, by giving each other a place to belong, by creating community, by showing you could be good without God, by demanding evidence and good reason for the things that you believe and accept, and holding dogma to the fire and going, why are we going to follow unquestioningly?
Yeah.
It's just that important. So when she pops in,
well, you're a danger to the youth because they have access to YouTube.
says we're a danger to the youth.
Danger to the youth.
V.
Not the youth.
Are you a danger to the youth?
Do you know how many youth reach out to me to come out because I am literally the only person for whom it is safe to do so? Like the fact that I am somehow dangerous is fun for me because I don't get that often. I try and intimidate my little siblings and they go, "Aw." So the fact that I'm scary in any capacity is funny to me. But no, I am actively trying to help people with this. This is why I do this. I do this for the kids who haven't seen someone like me before and feel seen for the first time.
Well, it's one of the reasons. I mean, period. You are a fantastic host, and I'm proud to have you as my co-host on Talk Heathen. That said, being somebody that non-binary folks can look and say, I want to be like that person when I grow up. I think it's important, V. I'm so happy that you're here doing it. I really am. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, people do. Again, behind the scenes, V, you and I talk about it. I think you have several people a week.
Oh yeah.
Message you.
Yeah, I try to keep up with all of them and respond as much as I can. But yeah, several times a week, I'll get a message from someone I've never heard before. You're the first person I've told this to. Help me. What do I do next?
You know, what's funny is that actually ties into the last clip that I pulled here.
Yeah.
My nieces and nephews can come across this and start believing this stuff, and that's the problem. It's like
Sorry, that's our live studio audience.
Yeah,
they're hoping that your nieces and nephews find the show.
The call went on, but the purpose for this episode of Murphy's Law is, we have plenty. I've been going back to basics and going over arguments for the existence of God with Jenna. You and I have been going over calls and going, how do we feel as hosts about it? And what do we want to see and change as hosts? But what keeps that fire in our belly? What makes us want to do this? And why is it so freaking important? This is why.
Yep.
This is why. This was years ago that this call happened, and here we are. And it is just as relevant this very day, not yesterday, not last week, but tomorrow, next year. It'll continue to be relevant. That's why we're doing this. So, V, I'm glad that you actually knew this call, because that would have been a little bit more awkward if you hadn't.
Of course, I know Ruth Ann.
Yeah, Ruth Ann was good. Ruth Ann was good. It gave us a point to launch from and go, hey, this right here, this is why. And there were people who would say, oh, that's a Poe. And the fact is, even if that was a Poe, I've heard that exact thing from people. I've heard that exact thing from people I'm related to.
Yeah.
I mean, this.
No, of the calls that we've taken, even in my time on the show, most of them are kind of out there, right? There are a lot of wannabe apologists, and then there are a couple actual apologists, and then there are the people who are just like have something no one's ever heard before, and everybody's like, what is this?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it fun and entertaining. But we can't discount the ones that we do hear all the time, and the ones that are representative of the kinds of people that atheists all over the US and all over the world are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And they're misguided, probably well-intentioned, well-meaning people like Ruth Ann, who are genuinely concerned and misinformed.
Yeah.
And in situations like that, it's good to know how to talk to them and how to, if not set their minds at rest, because that's certainly not our job, at least give other people a window into what's going on behind the curtain, right?
Yeah. And just to kind of build on that a bit in the Ruth Ann direction is, I would not expect Ruth Ann to do anything dangerous or harmful to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is someone, we're having that expectation that this is a good person. We just want the same the other way around. And
yeah, exactly.
People wonder how we don't lose our minds going over the same arguments over and over again. I'll take 100 Ruth Anns. I'll take 1,000 Ruth Anns. Let them call in, because a little bit at a time, we can just start to normalize this.
Yeah.
And it's worth doing.
I agree.
So, V, I know this was a short episode, but it is one of my favorites. And I had a fire in my belly today. I just wanted to talk about this. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. How can people find you? Other than Talk Heathen, of course.
Other than Talk Heathen, I'm on Secular Sexuality on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central. I am here every Monday. And I am on my own upcoming channel, which will be linked in my website, vroselabbianca.com, and on Patreon at patreon.com/vlabianca. So if you're interested in learning more about that, check me out there.
I will have the links to everything in the description for this video. V, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful week.
Thanks. You too, Eric.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, that's it for another episode. Click here to subscribe and get notifications. I put out new episodes Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. If you want to see Wednesday's episode, it's already done, and it is on Patreon. If you want to become a patron, you can come up here to my Patreon link. It helps. There's early access and a whole bunch of other goodies for people if you want to support me. If you want to see another episode with V and I, go ahead and click right here. I'll see you next week.